Hello, Drew. How's it going?
Good, good. Good to see you again, man. How are you?
Oh, same here. Yeah, it's going great. Yeah, well, hope you had a good week. I talked to you on the phone earlier. It says you had a little lockdown. That sort of stinks. But COVID's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
crazy right now in the U.S.
yeah. Not past tense. We're still living in it.
Oh yeah. Well,
Oh, yeah.
that stinks. It's
But
too
it's
bad to hear.
modified. It's modified. It's not that intense. And,
Okay.
something you talk about a lot through your military training is adapt and survive.
Yep.
And one thing we also kind of learn in prison is sometimes you can't determine or decide upon what kind of circumstances fall upon you, but what you can do is you can adapt to it.
Yep.
And it's amazing how guys utilize, ways of working out in unique spots, unique environments, studying, to try to still survive mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and so it's always a learning process. But no, it's something that those of us that have been down for multiple decades have went through time and time again. So yeah, we're in it now. It has to do with COVID related stuff, and in this corner of the country, they take that stuff pretty seriously.
Yep.
And it is what it is, right? And a lot of
Yep.
that stuff is beyond our control. And for me, man, I got really good books to pour into, and there's something in there for me, and that's why I really like that we're going to talk about this book today, Die Empty,
Yep.
because it really resonated with me and a lot of guys around me that we want to leave something behind when we go. We don't want to die with our our greatest gifts, our greatest lessons still kept inside of us. We want to share it.
Yep. Yeah. Don't leave. Leave this world with the music still inside you. I can't remember the
Yeah.
quote, but I really like that one. Yeah, the really famous quote that we use in the military is improvise, adapt, and overcome. Right. So when you
Yeah.
get thrown a curveball, you got to you got to improvise immediately to get towards success. But then once you
Yeah.
learn from that, then you got to adapt to that new environment or that new type of challenge, and then so that you can overcome it in the future.
Yeah.
No, I thought this book, Die Empty, was really good. It had, to me, some really good, meaningful tools in there that are relevant, especially in my current manager job. Near the end of the book, they talked about, really emphasized the importance of relationships and connecting with the people you work with. And it was almost as if he was talking, he was coaching managers there, because it's been challenging to be a manager in COVID and working from home and trying to connect. I have 13 people on my team now, trying to connect with all of them and making sure that I'm listening and I'm not telling people what to do, and they're invested and they're contributing. And that's hard to do electronically. Um, I mean, we're feeling that here, trying to connect electronically, doing this collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it was a pretty good book. So what'd you think about the book? Overall, like
Well,
what
man,
are your main points?
look, man, Todd Henry, he's really onto something here. And just going off of what you just said, talking about leadership, and that's going to be a core principle not only in your life, but it has been in my life and will be in my life going forward. But something about leading a team, whether you're leading in church, you're leading a workout group, or you're leading a team of engineers like you are. He said something. He said, rather than striving for control, we should instead be striving for influence.
Yeah.
And when you're striving for influence, what you're looking to do is not just um, be able to dictate what other people are doing, but to inspire and to bring out their own God-given creative potential.
Yep.
And then you have influence through the ability of not necessarily just reproducing yourself, but bringing out somebody else's best self.
Yep.
So it's not about me, because he has a section here at the end, or towards the end of the book, where he deals with ego as it relates to leadership, as it relates to leaving a legacy, and it's so important to constantly be checking and making sure that your ego is not involved um, in your leadership process, and how you're engaging with people.
Yep.
So
No,
yeah, he said,
that was really good for me. That hit home because it because everybody's different, right? Especially when you have 13 people on your team. So some people, have
Yeah.
told me, "Oh man, I appreciate you being so involved," and then I get other indicators that people are thinking I'm controlling too much. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, how can I be both at the same time? But it's because it's different
Yeah.
people, right? So
Yeah.
that he gave a lot of tools and recommendations there on how to
Yeah.
create, two mirrors in your life, people that can give you that honest feedback. So, because just because that you're the way you're doing it doesn't mean that's how it's perceived. Or you might think, oh, I'm doing a good
Yeah.
thing because I'm saying this, but it might be taken completely differently.
Yeah. No, no, that's true. And so let me give you a few quotes, things that were sticking out to me even this morning while I was going through the book. It says, when you adopt the mindset of urgent diligence, you'll pour all of who you are into your days, and subsequently, you'll find that the unique value you bring to the world comes more clearly into focus. And for me, there's been things that have been on my vision board, my dream board for a while. Things that I wanted to do with my life, that I hope to achieve with my life, not just so that I can reap the benefit of it, so that one day after I'm gone, there's something of me still living on, something good, something enduring. And I just thought of that. Even though that we've kind of been on lockdown and stuff, you know, I'm only going to have these kind of unique moments. I'm in my 40s now, to really pour in and ask myself, what should I be, how should I be using these hours and these days?
Yep.
And he said right here, he said, you cannot pursue greatness and comfort at the same time. And it's easy to, when you're locked in a what, 8 by 10, 9 by 12 maybe, sell to want to be comfortable,
Yeah.
right? Because our lives are ultimately uncomfortable. But here's the thing though, that's human to want to be comfortable, to have comfort, right? But my potential exists beyond my comfort zone.
Yep.
And so I have to recognize comfort. Comfort doesn't have necessarily be the enemy. That my goal is to always be uncomfortable, but to know to really achieve whatever levels of greatness that I could ever achieve in my life, it's going to be far outside the level of my comfort zone. And so even in here, I'm thinking, man, God, I should be journaling. I should be writing my life down, my story. I should be extracting principles from everything I've went through and making sense of this. So that, and he says this. He goes, and let me give you this quote, and then I'll pass it back to you, and I want to hear what you said. He says, I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch, which I have got hold of for the moment. And I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it off to future generations. And that was just such a strong theme and impacting thought for me throughout this book. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And so the book resonated with me too, because in a lot of my life, I have pushed myself to take risks and go for it. Whether it's rock climbing, some crazy rock climbs in Colorado, or ice climbing. Even going up to Canada and
Yeah,
doing some of the world's hardest. But then also, pursuing special forces, training, and then serving for, many, many years in that
yeah.
branch of service. But
Being in
now,
some difficult situations.
yeah, but now I'm a manager, and I'm but we have huge budgets and really important projects. So, how do I still push out of my comfort zone in respect to my leadership and, making a difference in this space? And so, yeah, don't get complacent. I'm over 50 years old, but no, that doesn't mean I don't need to be running sub 6, minute miles, but I can still be taking care of myself and still be pushing myself. So I liked his emphasis on adding value. So, adding value consistently, diligently, urgently. I used to have an old boss that had a bumper sticker that he made that said "Add value, not time," and I think that's really good.
Mm.
He used to be long winded, and so I think he was using that as his like psyop campaign, to try to say I'm not, this isn't how I am, by handing out this bumper sticker to everybody. But I really like that, add value to, not time, but yeah, so a couple of the different tools that he shared, like the first one, that I really liked was, the developer mindset. And that's the mindset where you do all three of these critical functions. And it's, map what needs to be done to be successful. Um, then you got to do the work to bring it to fruition. And then you
Yeah, make
also,
it.
yeah, you got to make it. Yeah, map, make. And then the last one, mesh. Mesh is sort of a weird word, but it's to invest in yourself so that you're a better, maker or mapper, and I think that emphasis on self-development, or as a manager, me focusing on people developing their skills, right, not just getting the work done but also developing their skills. I think that's the key takeaway that I have. I need to do a better job at that. So for me, that tool, I think we need to grab that tool excuse me, put it into the stuff that we're using, because that's where the shears framework, skills, habits, energy, attitude, relationship, service, that, mapping, making, and meshing fits right into that. And so I thought that was pretty
Yeah,
good.
I think it's easy for a lot of people to do mapping, melting,
Yeah.
rather than mapping, making, meshing. I've done the map, and then melt down.
Yeah.
Um, no, that's really good. I'll tell you what, I wrote down all these notes, um, things that were starting, and I was starting to string them together to try to come up with like, okay, these theories. This is how this attaches to this, and this crosses over, and I kind of did some Da Vinci stuff. Well, not nearly Da Vinci, but I
Yeah.
started writing them down and then making notes and then stringing them together. And it started with, and he said this, and I'll make this quote. He says, "Don't be a mirror, passively reflecting the priorities of others. You must dig through the rubble to the core principles that guide your life." And so I started this whole thing off by saying, we do triune thoughts, you know what I mean, the trinities and kind of groups of three. But I started this one off by saying, find who you are. You really, the core, you need to find out who you are, what you were created to do, who you were meant to become, the impact you were meant. There's something unique about you, Eric. There's something unique about me. And our destinies co-align. Not only are we related, but we have similar goals and visions, but there's uniqueness to each of us.
Yep.
And each of us have went through the process of discovering, okay, God, what have you put inside of me? And tied to that is also to look around, the mapping, look around and see what I'm capable of becoming. After that, the making, what I wrote down was plot the course and accept that it's going to be difficult, for all great things are. And I think the U.S. Army had this saying is embrace the suck. It's going to suck.
Yeah.
Just embrace it, but, after you really find out, God, this is who I am, this is what I believe I'm capable of doing, then you have to then you have to plot the course. You have to map it out, and you have to seek out to go make it. And then another key thing, and I'll write this down. This deals with, comfort being the enemy of greatness, right? There are subtle ways in which we can lose our bearing if we do not purposely weed out distractions and ask ourselves if we are still on the right course. Resist the temptation of comfort, for it's the enemy of greatness. That after plot the course, man, I was running yesterday, and we've been locked down, and I hadn't really been out there to really exercise and run and do some cardio. The hardest part of a mile for me is the last 20 yards. I don't know what it's like. The give up thing wants to trigger on.
Yeah.
It's the last 20 yards. Then I try to go. The excuse, I'll just kind of bend off here, or and you have to acknowledge those moments where your brain and your mind wants to shoot for comfort.
Yep.
And you need to push past that. Weeding out distractions, making sure you're on the course. You need to self-analyze and check. And that's where having accountability team members, yourself or other people that I think will come into our lives. And then finally, one of my favorite quotes, he wrote down, this is the secret. Find the balance between going out to get what you want and being open to the thing that actually winds up coming your way.
Yeah.
That there's a divine balance that takes
Yep.
humility and self acceptance and acceptance of what was destined for you. So anyway, so finding who you are, plot the course, resist temptation, weed out distractions, and then find the balance. So those are, I guess, my five.
Okay. No, that's pretty good. Yeah. So the whole plotting that course, I liked the tool he, recommended about having, the step, the sprint, and the stretch goals. So
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
think those are really good. I like looking at my life, through, four lenses, energy, love, wisdom, and work. You and I doing these book reviews and talking about these ideas and how we can apply it in our lives. That's investing in wisdom, but also, investing in our relationship. That's part of the love that I care about
right,
having in my life. So now in my daily journal, I'm going to put in little columns, for on the rows on the left hand side, I'm going to have, energy, love, wisdom, work. But then the columns are going to have, he talked about the importance of virtues. I already have that in there, but this he reemphasized the importance of that. Maybe a little tidbit of gratitude. But then I'm gonna start articulating, the sprint, stretch. I'm sorry, step, sprint, stretch goals that I want to cross those
yeah,
four lines, so that I'm actually plotting the course. And so I like that. Where the step goal is like, hey, what are you gonna do today? The sprint goal is what are you gonna do? What are you gonna accomplish in the next week or two? And then the stretch goal is something significant, that you're aspiring to accomplish in the next couple months.
yeah,
So I think that's a pretty good framework. And then the last tool that I took away is, he recommended on a daily basis, and instead of organizing your week, or organizing your life by the week, sort of like Stephen Covey recommended back in the day. He said don't throw that out, but he said you really need to have a daily process, and he called it lived empty. And so,
live
the
empty,
E
yeah,
stood for, what are your ethics? So, so just, see how you're going to apply your virtues during the day.
yeah,
Then M is, orient yourself to the mission. What are you not going to do that could potentially distract you from doing what needs to be done? But then, reemphasize your mission. P is focus on people, and that's such a huge part of my job. But now I really want to talk about, or focus on engaging into what you're hitting on, the inspiring folks, and then, identifying your tasks that can be your step tasks, and then to conclude the why. What are you doing to improve yourself? How are you, improving your craft? So to me, I do have a little daily routine, that I've shared with you before that we do in our bullet journal, our bujo. But now I'm going to take some of his recommendations and upgrade my daily, you know, uh, daily planning. So to me that's where it mattered, right? I'm reading a book. It's going to improve how I engage others, and it's going to improve on how I manage my life on a daily basis. So to me, it was worthwhile. It was pretty good.
yeah. No, it was, and another core concept is the embrace. And I found this also in Eric Greitens' book that we just finished reading, Resilience, and it's facing the fact that life is finite. And letting that be something that infuses you to your purpose, and it doesn't just paralyze you in your present.
Yep.
Is recognizing that, hey, my time on this earth is limited, and if I want to make an impact, I better start getting serious about it now. Matter of fact, yesterday, and so I think having that in the background. Well, I like what Eric Greitens says. He says death is like the acknowledgement of death is like the sun, in that it should infuse every area of our lives, but it would make no sense to just stare at it. Because if you stare at it, it can hurt your eyes, and then you
Yeah.
can't see anything, you know. And so it's just, my life is finite. I'm only going to have this decade once in my life, so I need to maximize these moments. And that also, I mean, the key thing about that is relationships. It's not just about what do I accomplish in my private time, but it's what is the impact that I'm leaving on guys that I Bible study with or that I work out with, my coworkers. What impact do I leave on them? Am I being a good employee for my boss? These aren't really like, popular concepts in this world, but these are really the concepts. Embracing these questions is really what's going to transform my life from, some average thing to something, because I want the report on the end of my life to be well above average,
Yep.
and I'm not trying to be a C grade student in life, and it's so easy for me to do. He says mediocrity doesn't happen suddenly; it develops slowly over time. And I've just thought about myself and the ways where I've not pushed myself, and it's even in my relationship, and it's even in my relationship with God, that I recognize that I get, hey, let's make this comfortable, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying God is calling me to some weird extreme life that would be uncomfortable for me and everybody around me, but I'm saying that mediocrity slips into our relationships just as much as it slips into our career pursuits or what we want to do or accomplish with our life. So, facing the fact that life is finite, I got to get up every day and recognize, hey, this day's a gift. I only get to live this day once. And devoting my life to discovering what was I uniquely put here for. And who? Not
Yeah.
just what, but who. Who
Yeah.
was I put here for? And like you with your sons, relationships, the responsibility, opportunities always accompany its twin sibling responsibility. Not just what was I put here to do, but who was I put here for? And looking at life, I want to engage my relationships from a service-based mindset. That I'm not just here to receive something for you. I'm here to be something for you. So those kind of things were kind of hitting me and challenging me throughout this book about, you know, everything.
Yeah, that's good. And
So,
yeah, I listened to a podcast with Jordan Peterson and Brett Weinstein and Brett's wife recently, and they have the Weinsteins actually put out a new book, so I might have to send that one to you. And it's pretty cool. But what they really focus on in that book is how humans are able to build like niche expertise, right?
okay,
And the cool thing about humans, though, is we change our niches all the time, and
sure.
and that expertise, right? So, like you become an expert carpenter, but now you're becoming an expert plumber. I used to be a junior officer engineer, then became a special forces team leader, then became a strategic planner. So, but we do that with relationships too. We build these relationships. It's almost like, and they said that the unique thing about humans is we can change environments and change niches all the time, and we have the
Yeah,
ability to adapt to those new environments and create something new. And then
yeah,
the really neat thing was they talked about the Adaptation Valley. When you go from one niche to another, remember the second mountain, dropping into the valley to climb the next mountain,
yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then they brought in Jordan started bringing in all these religious connotations about the significance of the mountain and climbing the mountain and getting to the top. And that's why there's pyramids. The Egyptians built pyramids because it represented the
yeah.
mountain, and it held in high regard. But anyways, I really thought that was
Wow.
pretty cool about the focus on niche. And what is your niche? You gotta be diligent and urgent, and then and it might not be what you think it's going to be, but when it comes up to you and you're like, hey, I can do that, then put your energy and invest in it. And it could be people, it could be the mission, it could be your job or your craft, whatever.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool how that podcast this week resonated, with
yeah,
this book. But
yeah. I would love to watch those podcasts with you so bad.
yeah,
And I look forward to it. I really hope that we can. I really believe God's calling us to that level, and I'm trying my best to craft something inside of me that can draw out something that's equally beneficial for people, just like that podcast blessed and benefited you.
yep,
Um, so this book was amazing, man, and I want to just encourage all of our listeners, to check out Todd Henry's Die Empty for themselves, and this is just a little bit of our take on how it impacted us, and obviously if you guys out there get a chance to check it out yourself. Whether you listen to it through, I guess that's what people out there do now. They
Yeah.
just listen to books. I read them, but you guys listen to them. We'd like to hear from you and want to know, what you got out of the book and how is it speaking to you about your life now? Because life isn't later, life is now for all of us, even a poor old prisoner like myself. And but no, we just appreciate you guys and cousin man, I love you and spending this time with you each week, man, is so important to me and I can't wait till we're out there doing it together.
Oh, same here, Drew. I always look forward to this every weekend. You keep me honest because it makes me read the books. I do some listening, but I actually read through this one. So
Yeah,
all right, so I can actually
Caputo.
report on it. Yep, do a little
Yeah,
journaling on it.
yeah, and
So
we want people to also comment too. Hit that comment section up.
all right,
I love you, man. I'll see you next week.
love you too. Take care, Drew.